Okay, I'm live and just thought we'd do something different, a bit of a lunchtime chat. And I'm at a very different location, no longer at home or at the beach, but at the local library where they've just done it up. And the library has a courtyard, and that's where I am at the moment. So I'll just show you a bit of that around. Now, as you might be able to see, the door into the building is open. So I'll just move myself a little bit and get a better position where I'm a little bit more distant from, so I don't disturb people inside. And I haven't got a lot in this format. Pretty much a Q&A, ask me anything type thing. I'll just radio. Okay, that's probably a better background. And hello to Hayden. And yeah, no, I quite like this background. And I'm using the library's free Wi-Fi, so we'll see how good it is for broadband, live video. And hello to Chris and Hayden. Now, I just had an idea. Do you reckon I could get away with installing an antenna here? Now, we're right up against, this is the wall of the police station that's next to the library. Now, do you reckon I could get an RF signal? You can have your wet weather back. Well, it's... well, we did actually have some wet weather. When was it? Yesterday. Might have been yesterday. Anyway, but now, fine and beauty, libraries of the air. Well, I'll just give you a bit more of a view. Getting a magnetic loop through, it would look odd if I got a magnetic loop through. Fishing pole, maybe. After all, we're fairly close to the beach here, so you might be able to get something in. Or, actually, I had a loop. In fact, I've still got a little loop built into a briefcase, laptop case, and pubs on the air. Yeah, it'd be even harder to get an antenna in there. Maybe something from the beer garden. And there's 5 people watching, so that's good. Yeah, so maybe you could conceal something in this tree. Certainly a little loop in a briefcase or something. But you could potentially make contacts on JS8. Or you could even just listen, like if you just had a wire loop that didn't need to be very efficient, but you could probably hear whisper. You could certainly set up a whisper reception. There's all sorts of computers and things, but I'm sure I'd hear some signals. So, yeah, anyway, just thought of that. And as for what I've been doing, well, as I mentioned on my Facebook, in fact, I should probably mention, I haven't mentioned this video on the Facebook yet, so I probably should, just to let people know, because people sometimes say, "Oh, well, I'm never around when you're doing live stream," and yeah, that's sort of my fault because I don't have any regular scheduled thing. So I'll put on a post on the Facebook page, and oh, that's funny. I just heard a bit of myself come through, and yeah, what have I been doing? Well, even though there's been a big contest, ARRL contest, but didn't get around to getting on air at any part of it, because I've been messing around with construction, which I haven't done so for a while. and that is experimenting with a very simple two-transistor mixer. It's supposed to be a double balanced mixer, and the unusual thing, most double balanced mixers use diodes. They require high level of oscillation, high level oscillators, and they also have inductors and toroids and broadband things. So they sometimes a little bit harder to build. Anyway, this mixer is just two discrete transistors, and I just thought, oh well, I'll pull apart some other thing I didn't have. So I had a ceramic resonator oscillator on 7 megahertz, and with a crystal earpiece, I was a total of 3 transistors. I was just able to hear amateur signals, so I had a direct conversion receiver. And hello to Leo, Art of Engineering, George, and Chris again. Yes, supposed to be studying. Well, I had intended to be writing something for something else, but I thought, oh no, I'd try this for a while. So yeah, what was I going to mention? So I've got this two transistor mixer. Was able to get it to work as a direct conversion receiver. I experimented with various power transformers to couple the audio out. Then I added an extra transistor or two as the audio amplifier. A bit temperamental, but yeah, I was able to get quite good reception of amateur signals, and it seemed to be quite good in relation to rejecting strong signals from local broadcast stations. So that's got potential. I think it's got more potential as a transmit mixer than a receive mixer. Then you don't need to worry about the audio transformer. You can just use RF because you're taking the output as RF. Could be a balanced modulator, preferably a high-level balanced modulator. Then if you just plugged the sound card of a computer into it, along with your crystal oscillator, you'd then be transmitting whisper, FT8 digital modes, whatever. Could even use it on receive. Chris noted high vis. Yes, you can get away with a lot with high vis. So that's been my thoughts. Probably won't get around to doing it today though. Also been producing a few videos. I've run out of my broadband allocation phone. I've been doing too many live videos and uploading too much. What abandoned circuits? Oh, Patrick, question. Well, I can't give you a tour of the junk box because I'm not there, but exciting things that you've not gotten around to. Well, all sorts of things. I wouldn't mind building more VHF, building VHF SSB stuff. Maybe even a frequency multiplier for 23 centimeters. Because with 23 centimeters, we've got some VHF contests here in Australia. You get more points on 23 centimeters. And if you're on a high hill, you've got good views, you don't need a lot of power. Now, a dongle thing, that sorts out your 23 centimeter receiver. So really, all you need is, okay, I'm not talking, Frank, I'm not talking very loud. I'll just talk a little bit closer. Now, is there a microphone thing that you can, no, let's turn it off. Yeah, I don't want to talk too loud here. And I'm not using an external microphone. Maybe next time I should have an external headset. Maybe I should also project my voice a bit better to the laptop, which I'm holding up instead of having on my knees. Yeah, so if you're able to if you've already got a dongle receiver thing, that sorts out your receiving on 23 centimeters. So all you need to do is arrange the transmitting. So you could then have maybe a bow thing or anything that transmits 70 centimeters FM and just make a frequency tripler and no transistors, just diodes and some tuned circuits, and you might be able to get you might be able to get a few hundred milliwatts, and that would be okay for FM in a VHF field day. And thanks to the idea on the NBN note, I'm actually paying a bit less than that. It's only sometimes, it's only occasionally when I go over, and I've only got it one day until it rolls over, so I wasn't over by very much. I've been downloading a lot of stuff and upgrading operating systems and things, so it's only a temporary thing. Hello to Gene, WB0SZ. Good that I'm being received in Central Texas. So that's my doings. It's, as the title says, ask me anything as well. A few people have commented in the chat, which is good, and we've got 17 people watching, which is pretty good for an impromptu thing. But yeah, it would be quite interesting to see what signal I can get out, or this is really the thing where the sun's moving around. This is really the thing where some sort of link back to home would, so I could control the home station, might be another possibility. And any books in the pipeline? Not really. Transmitters or simple receivers. And hello to Greg, VK3YE. Any ideas, easy circuits on SSB? Well, I'd first of all suggest you try double sideband. It's only 3 dB worse than SSB. Yes, the bandwidth is twice as much, but double sideband, direct conversion receiver, look up My Beach 40. If you haven't built anything yet, then once you've built double sideband, then think about SSB, but only on as a separate circuit. Don't pull apart your double sideband. Keep that. Components are cheap. Build something separate. And for SSB, you could experiment with, if you can still get 7.159 meg crystals. I built a transceiver. I'm just trying to think what I called it. It's on my website, VK3YE.com. I have 2 double sideband, but not easy to use in a network. Well, actually, there is a way around it, whether you consider it appropriate or not, because there's a bit of fiddling around. But if you invert your audio and then you tune off by 3 kilohertz on double sideband, you can definitely receive double sideband on a direct conversion receiver. You're tuning off to one side because you're inverting audio. And I did a video or 2 about that. So look up some of my old videos where I talk about receiving double sideband on a direct conversion receiver. You can invert either your transmitter or do the inversion on the receiving side, and then you tune off, and then you no longer have the 2 sidebands competing against one another. As for crystal filters, crystal filters are easy, just 8 or 10 megahertz crystals and 100 picofarad capacitors, and your band pass characteristics might not look textbook perfect, but it should be okay. And hello to Craig 1996, and congratulations on getting licensed. And as for the flower pot, on top of one of the poles supporting a fan dipole, that should be fine. Doesn't have to be. That's perfectly okay, because your wire, your fan dipole will be horizontal more or less, and your flower pot can be on top. Provided the base of it is maybe 20 centimeters or a bit more, or even a bit more above the then that would be there shouldn't be any interaction at all. I'd be more worried if the wire was crossing over and the pole was lower. And hello to Tim D. my RISPer on 40 meters. The transmitter I was using was probably, I haven't got it plugged in right at the moment, but it is, it's something from Zactech. So it's 200 milliwatts, operates on several bands. I think I've got it on 40, 17, 20, and 10. They're bands, and 80, and they're bands that my G5RV works quite well on. So yeah, about 200 milliwatts, and a little a Zactech RISPer transmitter, GPS controlled. So I just need to apply power and antenna, and I'm on the air. And hello to Frank, glad that you enjoy all the videos and stuff. Brian, I don't know about the lightweight carbon fiber poles, but they sound interesting. Here in Australia, there's Australian suppliers that use Haverford. I probably need to get another pole. Yeah, 50 centimeter vertical clearance. Yeah, that should be fine. There shouldn't be any interaction there, Craig. Yeah, I probably should get another pole because one of my poles particularly is getting a bit old, and I can't extend it its full length. What was I talking about? Yeah, I was still talking about SSB. Yeah, there's ways you can build a crystal filter. Just build if you've got 7.159 megahertz crystals, which I haven't checked on eBay to see if you can still get them, but if you can, then that will give you a SSB transceiver on one frequency on 7 megahertz without any frequency conversions. But ideally, of course, you want frequency agility and therefore some sort of mixing arrangement. Another approach with need crystal filters is phasing SSB. Then you have to think about audio phase shift. How do you do that over a wide range? And that can be a bit tricky, but I have described, I think it's a 7-transistor phasing transceiver on 7 megahertz. You don't have a commercial radio to reverse the audio. You could build. In fact, there was a kit. It was from JCar. It was called. It was a Dalek voice kit. Anyway, that used an MC1496 balanced modulator, mixer, whatever, had audio, and if you set its frequency at it had an oscillator as well. So it was basically like a little double sideband type thing. If you set its frequency at around 3 kilohertz, then the audio effect was the same as reversing the audio with a small modification. So you could actually use that. Or maybe you could use we've been going for about 18 minutes. Now, could you make a transceiver from your Coil-Less 2-transistor Regen receiver? Now, just trying to think, the Coil-Less, I think that was the one with the ceramic resonator. Yes, you could. It's probably easier to make a separate transmitter because you, rather than make it from that particular receiver. But yes, you could just have it, say, 1 or 2 transistor crystal controlled transmitter, and put it in a box and an antenna and a switch to switch the antenna. And you could have a look at some of my recent videos where I've described the epoxy direct conversion transceiver, just a couple of transistors, or you could just build the transmitter first up and use a remote SDR to do the receiving, and later on build a receiver. And Frank, 2 bi-square antennas. Yeah, they're quite massive antennas, but I built one for 10 meters years ago, and it worked quite well. There's the last solar cycle. Well, I'm just trying to think, what else have I done? Oh, there's a few videos in the works. I got sent a magazine called, is it Microwaves and RF, or Microwaves, or maybe it's just Microwaves. Anyway, an industry magazine. So I'm not sure if it's free to everyone, but they actually mailed me. It was a bit of a surprise. I went to my letterbox, and there were like 4 or 5 copies of this magazine all at once. And anyway, I had a flick through them, did a quick review. So yeah, that will be a future video. And I'm just trying to think, there's a couple of other videos that I've uploaded recently. Oh, that's right. Some shortwave band scanning. And in fact, I think one of the frequencies was BBC transmitting to Ukraine. Anyway, it was early in the morning, our time, around sunrise. I went down to the beach, set up listening station, and used a realistic Tandy DX392 receiver. So yeah, I've got some band scans coming up. One was like 1.8 to 8 megahertz. Another one is 7 through to 15 megs. So yeah, there's some early morning listening to look forward to in future videos. Now, Chris, a bi-square antenna. It's basically, think of a big diamond, a bit like a quad loop, but you've actually cut it at the top rather than a continuous wire. So it's 2 bits of wire, 1 wavelength long, because it's 2 wavelengths perimeter, rather than 1 wavelength, which a quad loop would be. Anyway, it's got a bit of gain. So what antenna am I currently running? At home, I'm using just a G5RV, nothing special. About 10 meters up in the center, dropping down at the edges. But yeah, bi-square antenna is a massive monster. Now, you could potentially have a relay at the top and switch it in so it's a coil, so it joins it up and makes it a full wave loop on 14 megahertz. But yeah, basically a bidirectional antenna. I think it's high impedance, so you probably need an antenna coupler or something to feed it. So yeah, interesting antenna, but a bit of a novelty, worth experimenting with. But in terms of what you get for its size, there's probably other antennas that are easier to put up. Okay, if you've just joined, I'm Peter VK3YE, and you can ask me anything. And right now it's just gone 1 p.m. here in Melbourne. And no, I haven't moved house. I'm transmitting from the local library. Okay. And oh yeah, magnet loop ideas for 160 meters. Yeah, I had a loop when I was living in Canberra. I had a loop, and I was just in the kitchen table. I think I was in an apartment, and I had contacts on. I had contacts on 160 meters. It was like, I think it was either SSB or CW. Can't remember, but it was like 300 kilometers. So yeah, even a magnetic loop can work on 160. And question from Tim: what digital modes have you dabbled in? JS8 is good. Not a lot of activity. What there is mostly on 40 meters, but it is super versatile what you can do. Like even if there's no one active on JS8, then have a look at some of your send to functions where you can, where you first of all do a heartbeat, which basically tells you which other stations are on. Most of them will be automatic. Then you can request information from them. You can also request what stations they're hearing, and they'll give you a list of the 4 or 5 stations they can hear. And you can leave messages for other people who you might not be able to hear directly. So yeah, there's quite a few things, even though there's, some you can call CQ on JS8. Hopefully you'll get someone responding, but it's much quieter than FT8, much less activity. FT8, I do occasionally. Are you from the lands where possums still? Yeah, we do get possums. You hear them on the roof. All my videos have amazing scenery. Yeah, well, this one is courtesy of our council rates because I'm transmitting from the local library. So yeah, a bit nicer than my garden. But yeah, you sometimes, when you're walking home at night, you sometimes see possums walking along the power lines. Yeah. And have I tried 40 meters AM NVIS? It's 2 or 3 years ago. It wasn't so good when we were in the solar trough. You do need a bit of sunspot activity, but we've now started to get that. So yeah, 40 meters AM over short distances, will start to come into its own again. But yeah, on with AM on the main frequency, you'll hear it on 40 meters is 7125. Some VK2s, VK3s, VK4s. And hello to my place in Bayswater. And yeah, 135 foot of wire, balanced line, balanced tuner. Yeah, that works very well. Wished I had the room for that. 35 meters. Oh yeah, okay, Chris. Yeah, you're talking about a loop. Yeah, I have tried loops made out of coax, and yet they do work. I've heard of them where if you've got a fence, you could even put it up there, and not many people will see it. And hello to Electronica Elementa in Brazil. As for other digital modes, there's the three main ones: FT8, Whisper, and JS8. I have, however, tried, what is it, MFS K441? No. Anyway, I've got a video of it. It's used a lot on 6 meters. It's one of the meteor scatter modes, and I've had contacts there over quite a distance with just very modest antennas. With meteor scatter, you could get like 1,500 kilometers with not much power. It's not a real conversational type contact, but yeah, you can have exchanges, as we'll call them. I'm sort of in the sun again. Don't want to get sunburnt, so I have to. The shade is sort of diminishing here. It's getting nearer and nearer to the building. So I might, just in case there are any last questions or comments, we've been on nearly half an hour. So, yeah, any time for any final comments? Otherwise, we'll call it a day. Chris, how do they do meteor scatter before digital modes? Good question. I'm pretty sure they did it. And hello to the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club. It's getting a bit warm here. Okay, it's a bit better. And Crackerjack. Those QRP SDXs. And glad that you're liking the live feeds. Well, from what I've read, read quite a few reviews and about the SDXs or US SDXs. Does seem to be counterfeits, and they don't seem to be quite a lot of disappointed people with them. So personally, I would save my money until you can get something genuine or better. They do seem to do quite a lot for what they promise, but I think there are quality control and other issues. You might be lucky and get a good one, but for me, it would be a bit of a gamble. So I wouldn't. And glad that taking your equipment outside makes you connect with the elements. Very refreshing, even to watch. Thank you. Like the plein air painters went to paint outside. Yeah, of course we had the, of course in Melbourne you had, the Heidelberg School, and they went to, in fact they went and painted not far from some of the beaches that that I've operated portable. Normally a bit further up the coast, a bit closer to Melbourne than me. But there's plaques around the local beaches that say, "Oh, the Heidelberg School painted around here." So yeah, you'll very very famous group in Melbourne, and yeah, HF Baofeng called a Ziju. Yeah. And of course, there are compromises with some of those, especially if they try to do a lot of bands on them. So yeah, hope I've answered all the questions. I think I have. All right, so been going on just over half an hour. So always plenty more to ask me. All right, ask it now. And Vitex AG's Aaron video, yeah, that's been a really popular video. They're curious about the half square. When you load it from the bottom, how do you feel about the efficiency from K or NYX? Actually, they're very efficient. It's high impedance. You don't need much of a ground. I've described a rollout ground map that I've used. There's another antenna. That's with the half square. You're feeding it from a high impedance point, so you do need an appropriate antenna coupler that can match your 50 ohm to your high impedance, but that's easy. That's just a coil and a capacitor. So yeah, no, the half square, but the good thing about the half square is that the efficiency is fine, nothing wrong with that, but the thing that makes it outstanding, and the bobtail curtain even more so, is that it's only a quarter wavelength up, but it's got really good low angle of radiation. And if you're near salt water, got salt water in that direction, then the then that can give you a lot of gain, a lot of performance at the desired angles that you want for DX. So yeah, no, the half square is a good antenna choice, especially if you're operating near the beach and you want something to string up parallel to the water and give you a good broadcast pattern. Half square is good, or bobtail even more. Bobtail is twice as wide. It's got a bit more gain. You might need 3 poles instead of 2, so a bit harder to take on your bike. But yeah, both very good antennas for beach portable DX. All right, if my 817 choked, would you get it fixed? Would you try to fix it yourself? I probably wouldn't try to fix it myself. Maybe I'd open it up to see if there was anything obvious. But I probably wouldn't. I do have another 817, which because the one that I use is the 817ND. I do have an original 817 that had some issues with the final amplifier stage, and because the first 817s that came out, quite a few of them had problems. Anyway, I got in the board and put it in, and I'm pretty sure that it actually does work. So I might try that. Lazy H, a bi-square and half square, all sort of kin. Some easier than the other, all beta dipole. Yeah. Yeah, no, the antenna theory books go into, the relativities. There's another one called a W8JK that's sort of related. Another one I'd suggest is, some people call it the inverted ground plane. Basically a T-type of antenna, like 5 meters of wire up, and then you're just joining it to the center of a 10-meter horizontal wire, and it's inverted ground plane or T-type antenna, and you can load it up on frequencies like 7 and 14 megahertz. Again, it's not very high up, but that is quite good for near the salt water. And I did a video comparing it with an inverted L and just a straight bit of wire 5 meters tall. I was transmitting whisper, comparing the reports. Anyway, I found a big difference between the wire straight up and an inverted L, and the T was better still. Actually, I need another finger to properly show the T, because if you assume that's 5 meters up, it's another 5 meters. You actually need another, so it's 10 meters across the top, and that will work. Any other digital mode? Olivia, haven't tried that. Have tried PSK31, is Micro 40 SSB. Micro 40. Unless you mean, I did describe, I think it was a double sideband rig, which I called the Micro 40. Personally, I'd go for the Beach 40, but for the first time builder, I would build a CW rig first. Simpler, less to go wrong, and then later on try something double sideband and try SSB. Yeah, Chris, I have tried PSK31. That was popular like 20 years ago. Another one, QRSS. That's really slow speed Morse. Will I do any more books? I've sort of got some partly written, haven't made progress on them for ages. So, yeah, don't know. Seems to spend lots of time doing videos and building stuff. Anyway, you mentioned books, so maybe I should plug them. There's 8 of them on various facets of amateur radio. My website, VK3YE.com, has more about them. So if you've just turned on, I'm Peter, VK3YE, and not from home. I'm just somewhere where I could scrounge some free Wi-Fi. So we're doing this live, where it's a Q&A, where you can ask for anything. So yeah, keep going, Chris, with your questions. And seems to be drying up. And yeah, Boris, you can try, even simpler, like a simple direct conversion receiver, maybe a simple transmitter. When's the next ham meetup? You mean the QRP by the Bay? Yeah, haven't done anything about that. Of course, we've had all these COVID restrictions, and we've had things that have been proposed and then cancelled. So, yeah, I haven't got around to arranging anything. Maybe we should have one. Did have some in the middle of winter a few years back, and that worked. We've got good weather at the moment, and we'll probably have it for about a month or two. Then it will start to get colder. So I think we've all run out. So thanks all for joining me. Yep, and enjoy the rest of the day. I'll get on with what I was supposed to do. Yep. Radio Australia, yep. The only thing from this part of the world now is Radio New Zealand, I think. So thanks all for watching, and yep, you'll be able to catch up on anything you've missed if you want to.